They told you that awakening was about escaping the matrix. They lied. Awakening isn't an escape, it is an entry. Welcome to the final transmission of the Quantum Entanglement series. If you are still watching, it means you survived the deconstruction. You stopped feeding the parasites. You recognized the noise. But a question remains. Why are you here? Being human isn't just about feeling things. It's about how you code those feelings into reality. You aren't just living an experience. You're programming it. Welcome to episode 10 of the Human Experience series. We often think our human experience is something that happens to us. Bad luck, difficult people, sudden changes. But there is a mechanism to being human that most of us ignore. The mechanism is language. We think words describe our life. But in this experience, words build our life. When you say, "I am tired," your biology responds. It is the design of the human instrument. It is neuroplasticity. The document of your life is written by the words you repeat. Every limiting word fires a neural pathway. Your psychology becomes your biology. This is the observer effect turned inward. You collapse your own potential with your speech. This is the difference between the signal and the noise. When you hear the word entanglement, your mind goes to physics, particles, laboratories, precision experiments. Quantum entanglement describes measurable correlations between particles under controlled conditions. That is real physics. What it does not describe is emotional telepathy or human thoughts altering electrons at will. So let's be precise. When I speak about entanglement in your life, I am not talking about subatomic particles responding to your mood. I am talking about pattern. Attention binds identity. Use. Repetition binds behavior. Behavior binds outcome. That is psychology. That is neuroscience. That is measurable. Language plays a measurable role in this process. The words you repeatedly use influence perception. Perception influences emotional state. Emotional state influences physiology. Physiology influences decision-making. Decision-making influences results. That chain is not mystical. It is biological. When you repeatedly say, "I'm overwhelmed," your nervous system activates stress pathways. When you repeatedly say, "I can handle this," your body shifts differently. Language influences internal regulation. The placebo and nocebo effects demonstrate that expectation influences measurable biological outcomes. Belief affects biology. Attention changes what the brain filters and prioritizes. If you constantly speak about scarcity, your brain becomes more sensitive to signs of scarcity. If you constantly speak about opportunity, your brain becomes more sensitive to opportunity. Not because you bent reality, but because you tuned perception. Words shape narrative. Narrative shapes identity. Identity shapes behavior. Now let's return to quantum carefully. The observer effect in physics does not mean human thoughts magically force particles into existence. It means measurement affects quantum systems. At the human level, attention also affects systems through cognition and behavior, not mystical force. What you observe repeatedly, you reinforce neurologically. What you reinforce neurologically becomes habitual. Habits compound. That is where creation actually happens, not through magic. Through reinforcement. The structure of your self-talk builds your internal environment. Your internal environment influences your external actions. Your external actions accumulate into lived reality that is grounded. That is powerful enough. Episode 8 explored connection. Episode 9 explored what you attach attention to. Episode 10 asks something deeper. What patterns are you reinforcing through your language? Because you speak thousands of words a day, most automatic, most rehearsed, most shaping you. Not spells, patterns, not magic. Mechanism, and mechanism is powerful enough. And this is what's beautiful about the human experience. Not that we control everything. Not that we bend physics with willpower, but that we participate consciously. We can notice a pattern and interrupt it. We can hear our own language and rewrite it. We can recognize repetition and choose differently. That is power. Human power, the kind that builds identity, reshapes direction, and turns repetition into evolution. This is what makes the human experience extraordinary. Not certainty, not perfection, but awareness. Stay with me. We are stepping into a new chapter called the human experience, because this isn't just about words. It's about identity, perception, conscious participation, and what it truly means to be alive inside this body, inside this moment. The noise is the complaint. The signal is the truth you're afraid to speak. To change the human experience, you have to change the code. You have to break the loop. This isn't about positive thinking. It is about taking command of your own operating system. Will you rewrite the code? Or will you keep running the old program? The playlist is open. The series ends here. But your work is just beginning. You are now the gatekeeper. Be a stringer. Investigate. Research. Remember the truth. I'm Lady Stringers. Stay sharp. Stay aware. Stay tuned to the next series. And remember, you are the signal. End of transmission.